Welcome to Spider-Verse Minute, the tri-weekly podcast where we watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 1 minute at a time. I'm Sean Slater.
And I'm his sister Caroline.
And today we're watching minute 105, which opens with Miles running along a crane and ending a minute later with Miles flying through the air.
I have titled this minute, Met the Roommate. Because that's the most important thing that came out of this minute.
Yes, definitely. That is the most important thing.
Nah, I'm kidding. Just to start out, I love how this minute starts where it's like, and for like 2 days, I've been the one and only Spider-Man.
So when he first said this, I was like, does that mean it's been 2 days since he got his powers? But no, it obviously means that this is 2 days after after all the Kingpin stuff.
I feel like it has to be, because that's when he became Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he says the one and only Spider-Man, and that's when everybody else left. So, yeah, so this is still only like a week after he got his powers. 2 weeks after he got his powers.
Boy's been practicing.
Yeah. I love the parallel. I think they've revealed a new spider power in this where they're drone attractors, because both him and Peter were hit by drones.
I do love how they add that little detail.
Yeah.
Because, it's something that, keeps... It's such a small thing, but it keeps Spider-Man modern.
Yeah.
It's he's still relevant. It's they're not keeping him in any specific decade. It's no, drones are around. And you gotta avoid them. I think he and Peter have discovered a knack for finding drones when swinging.
Yeah.
I love that he got his essay done.
Yes.
And I love that when we see the cover of his essay, it's actually his art.
Yeah, with the
love that.
Great Expectation tag that he had created with his uncle. Which, do you think he redrew that, I guess? It looks like he probably just redrew that on top of it.
We actually see the sketch in his notebook early on in the movie when he's with his uncle. Yeah, I think the one in his book said Great Expectation, so I think he might have just, copied it.
I had forgotten that he had initially drawn the Expectations tag that he was working on. So, yeah, it makes sense that he would have done this one by hand.
I love when he's talking about, how he saved people before, he gets hit by the drone. I love how we see it, through people filming on their phone.
Yeah, it feels like he's, showing off for them.
Oh, definitely. That boy was showing off for them. He was definitely showing off. And then the drone came along and knocked him down a peg.
Yeah. Do you think they, specifically lined up, he's hey, guys, watch this, and then, swung around, or just saw that, the kids were out either going into or coming out of school, and he's just oh, I'll show off for them, and...
They had their phones out and ready, so I think he might have been swinging by from something, and then they're yo, Spider-Man! And people had their phones out, so he's I'm gonna show off for these people.
Okay. But, yeah, that totally fits in with his...
Yeah, unless he was showing off beforehand, which is also possible. But
he's just always showing off.
As you do.
The way he was posed and sliding through the air and everything gave me a very, exposition vibe to it, where it's oh, these are the people that, have really, really fine control over their cars and are able to, drift through the courses really tightly and do all these really cool, stunts with their cars. It had that kind of vibe where it's oh, this is Miles, and it, you know what it is? It was more the motorcycle stuff, because there is a motorcycle stunt where the people will get up on wheelies and then throw their feet up onto above their handlebars, and they get into a pose very similar to what Miles is.
Oh, yeah, I know which one you mean. Yeah.
And so that's what it feels like, is those kind of stunt bikes, stunt cars sort of vibes. And I just imagine people doing very similar things if they were to get if a bunch of people got spider powers, and just honestly, have them doing stuff that where they're just doing these really cool stunts with while swinging on their webs.
Yeah, and especially considering his age, that's totally something he would do. It's yo, I got these abilities, of course I'm gonna do cool tricks.
Yeah.
After that, we get cut to this very sweet moment of Miles standing on Jeff's shoulders.
Yeah.
It's like, made a mural at the police station with my dad. And we get a good cut out, which is, first off, super sweet.
Yes. And again, it's reminiscent of him standing on his uncle's shoulders as he was doing the No Expectations tag.
This time they're making a mural for his Uncle Aaron. And I never noticed this before just because it kind of went by too quick and I was always admiring all the other things. Is that it says Uncle Aaron, rest in power. I loved that. And then they both signed it at the bottom.
Oh. Yeah, he totally... I kind of forgot what Miles' last name was, and I was like, wow, Miles just put his first and last name up on there. But no, you're right. They totally both did sign that.
Yeah, they do. No, I thought it too for a second. I'm like, Miles Jefferson. Wait, what? I'm like, oh! But I thought that was such a sweet moment, and I do love that mural so much.
Yeah, it's such a great mural.
I think it's very cool.
Do you think so? It's obviously that AD is his first and last name, but do you think that they just stuck him in a circle or that his middle name begins with O?
I think they just stuck him in a circle, because I think if they made it a specific O, they would have been a little more detailed in making it an obvious O. But this one just feels more like circle, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a circle. I don't think his middle name begins with an O. It could. I don't think that was what they were going for, though. Then we get the whole point of this minute. Miles finally meeting Genki.
Yes, after living with him for 3 weeks.
Whole point of this minute.
But yes.
It's a very short sequence, but there are 2 things I love about this. First off, Genki jumps when Miles shows up upside down.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the? Cool.
It's more of a, like, he's just constantly, like, this is probably, like, the 4th time Miles has done this to him. And he's still just like, good Lord, Miles, get off the ceiling.
It looks more like he's still kind of getting used to it. He's like, what is that? Oh, right, it's my roommate. Oh, right, my roommate's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then when they fist bump, this is another one that, like, I never really noticed it, mostly because it went by too fast. So when they fist bump, it says best buds. And I'm like, aw, Miles has a friend.
Miles isn't a total loser. Yay!
Like, I mean, he's had other friends, but I think he has a friend in this dimension.
Yeah, I was gonna say his total now comes up to 2 friends. No, he's still got friends at Brooklyn Middle, but
yeah. Then I enjoy the sticker placement joke.
Yeah, and it's the same. The Spider-Man's the same style that he wrote the Spider-Man on Kingpin.
Yeah.
Which I feel like if he puts those stickers or makes those stickers elsewhere, that'll be another thing that, like, his dad realizes, like, wait a second, Spider-Man has the same style art as my son does.
Yeah, I feel like that's what they're probably going to do, is, like, he's going to take a look at that note and be like, this is very similar to Miles' style. Yeah. Then we get a very sweet, short montage of all the other Spider people in their own dimensions.
Yeah, you say sweet, but Spider-Ham's eating a hot dog. Does he know what those are made of?
I mean, he might not care, because he was originally a spider bitten by a radioactive pig.
That's true.
So he might not see it as cannibalism.
Maybe. I guess not.
Yeah. No, I saw that too, and I'm like...
Or maybe they're all just vegetarian hot dogs in his world.
With great friars comes great hospitality. Oh, I never noticed that before. That's hilarious. Oh, that's great.
In Penny's clip, they show the little spider, like, pulling the screwdriver over for her.
I thought that was the cutest thing.
Yeah, and she's got her bucket full of gumballs next to her.
Mm-hmm. Girl has her go-to snack, and apparently it's gumballs. Yes.
And, you know, I mean, all the others are pretty sweet. Noir finally solves the Rubik's Cube.
Gwen has a selfie, why did they take the selfie on the bus?
the picture's taken right after she says he'll let him know if she's got any, like, friend slots open up.
Good point.
And, yeah, I like how you can, you know, very obviously see Peter's legs in the background.
Oh no, I thought that was the best thing.
I do love her cell carrier as DC
Ah, I didn't notice that.
in the corner. But yeah, I like Gwen's the best.
Gwen's is my favorite.
Hers is kind of bittersweet
Mm-hmm.
in that, like, she's like, oh yes, my friend, how do I miss him? And then Peter's is also really nice with.
I like Peter's. Peter's is probably my second favorite.
He cleans up very well. He's also like doesn't have his gut anymore.
Yeah, I feel like he's almost he's probably worked it out a little bit. He's like,
Yeah, time to clean up and have MJ like MJ's smile or like start of a smile there at the end is great.
I do love how they kind of kept that open-ended, where it's like they just show him trying and they don't really go farther than that.
Yeah, it's pretty much implied that like it's things are gonna go up from there though.
Yeah, I like how they did that, where it's like they're not immediately okay.
Yeah.
Like it's like no, they're probably like it's gonna start getting better.
Yeah, and he's still nervous too, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. The last thing I have is I love the callback to MJ's speech after Peter died that Miles brings up is anyone can wear the mask.
Yeah.
I thought it was really sweet. I might have choked up a little bit watching it this time. Maybe, possibly, absolutely I did. I just, like, it's a little cheesy thinking about it because it's like, when you just say that, like, oh no, he flat out says anyone can wear the mask, even you can be behind the mask, it kind of sounds like it's very after-school special-y.
Yeah.
But, like, the way it comes off in the movie, it doesn't sound like that in the movie.
It does come off a little bit that way for me, but it sounds like something that 14-year-old Miles would say.
Yeah.
It's nice in that childishness about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like not childish in a negative connotation, but like just it's got that youthful optimism.
I think what makes it work and kind of keeps it out of the super cheesy, hokey after school special thing is that it does have that childhood genuineness to it, where it's like they're not talking down like anyone can be behind the mask. It's like no, anyone can. Like it's so genuine, and I just pictured how so many little kids are probably thrilled by that line.
Yeah, well, I love like one of the things that came out of this was the Spider-Sona like social media trend.
What's your Spider-Sona? I loved that trend. That was a cool trend.
It's also cool because they did a Spider-Verse 2 mini-series recently, and in the back of all of those issues they had a couple pieces of fan art that like got sent in. So you could see different people's takes on them.
I love that. Well, and I think it fits so well for this line to come from Miles as well.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider that, like, he was written, like, for diversity in a way. Not exactly, but, like, you know what I mean. Like, he was written, if I remember correctly, he was one of the first, if not he was the first, characters who was, like, taking over a main name.
Yeah, it depends on how you define it.
Yeah.
Because like DC, I think, has done this a lot better than Marvel has, where you had like Barry Allen is technically a legacy character of Jay Garrick as the Flash, and even Barry Allen has a legacy character of his own in his nephew Wally West, and then like the Green Lanterns have their own muddled, trail of legacy characters, or at least characters that have taken up the mantle of Green Lantern, going with like Hal Jordan being the first one to take over, and then after that you have like Guy and John and Jessica and a bunch of others after that. But that's also muddled because you've had them take over at sometimes at the same time, sometimes at different times, etc. And then like you have the different Robin characters of Batman's sidekick, and there's always only been one Robin at a time, but the other characters sort of like graduated out of that role. And then on the Marvel side, Miles is probably the first legacy character that he's the first one to take over such a big name that was a minority, because you had like Scott Lang took over as Ant-Man, but that was a white character going to a white character, and a white man going to a white man. That you had Kate Bishop take over as Hawkeye after Clint's death, and so there it was changing from a man to a woman, but it still was two white characters. And so like I really think Miles is he seemed to kind of kick off this new wave of characters taking over legacy names, because after him you get like Kamala Khan taking over the Miss Marvel name, since Captain Marvel changed her name, and Miles is sort of that first wave of these characters that are minorities taking over the new mantles, with Miles being half black, half Hispanic, and Kamala being a Pakistani Muslim taking over the mantle of Miss Marvel. And then you also have like Amadeus Cho, who is Asian American, and characters like that coming in, and sort of this better wave of characters coming in. I think X-23 might even be mixed. I forget what her mother's ethnicity is. I think her in the like Logan movie, she was Hispanic. I want to say Mexican, but that might have just been because that was where the like lab they were working in. I forget if the woman was actually Mexican or not. But you have this sort of new wave of characters taken over that way.
Yeah. Like he's a very loved character now, and like we haven't talked about it since probably the first or second minute of the movie, because it's been talked for a while. Like because it hasn't really been like plot important, but like him being a person of color and like a mixed, like it's just part of who he is. And I know so many people who are like, no, or like I've seen people say like, Miles represents who I am, and it's like it's great to see that in a hero for a change. Like, yeah, people had Black Panther, but not everyone could attach to Black Panther.
Yeah.
Miles was an American kid who became an American superhero. This is not me dissing on Black Panther either. I'm just saying more people tend to relate to Miles because of that, at least at a younger age, than they can with Black Panther sometimes. That's all I really want to. So I love how he's like, he gets to say like anyone can be behind the mask, and I was like, yeah, he's proof of that. Anyone can be. It's not a second Peter Parker. It's a brand new kid who like, yeah, he has similarities, but it's more just like they're both awkward teenagers.
Yeah, he's got the like archetypal similarities, but not the exact, like he's not just a clone of Peter.
And that's awesome.
The last thing I wanted to touch on with this minute was just how much fun you can tell Miles is having swinging through, and just like all the cool moves that he's pulling off, and just being like, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
No, that was all I had.
That's all I have for this minute as well. Thank you all for listening to this week's episodes. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at SpiderVerseMin, M-I-N, or you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, Spiderverse Minute, or you can shoot us an email at podcast@spiderverseminute.com. Hope that you'll catch in next week, where we will be getting to the end of the movie. Like the end. Credits and everything. Until then, thanks for listening.
Bye.